While Illinois looks at increasing different types of tax credits, our neighbors to the west in the Show Me states saying that they are looking at getting rid of tax credits and even phasing out their corporate income tax. Governor J.B. Pritzker defending Illinois' tax climate. Welcome back, Bishop on Air. I'm Greg Bishop. Thanks for hanging out. And this is obviously something, for my full-time job, I cover Illinois state governments with the Center Square. And if you don't follow the Center Square, you've got to. If you live in Illinois or any state, really, go check out thecentersquare.com. All right, you can find reporting on what's going on at your statehouse at thecentersquare.com. I am the Illinois Associate Editor, so I have 15 different feeds going. I feel like I'm standing in front of an open fire hydrant with my mouth wide open, and it's information overload at times, but I feel like I've got a decent bandwidth to take it all in and to digest it and to get it out to you guys. But we, of course, have been tracking all kinds of things with Illinois. High taxes, high property taxes. Earlier this week, we talked about how last week a House committee advanced measures to allow for local governments to increase property taxes. And Illinois already has the second highest property taxes in the country. That doesn't just impact you as an individual homeowner or even a renter when it comes to your landlord having to increase rents because they have to pay higher property taxes, but it also impacts businesses. Something else that impacts businesses, a high tax climate. And Illinois regularly ranks among the highest, if not the highest, for overall tax burden. And then you look at the amount of debt that the state of Illinois has, unfunded pension liability, unfunded public employee retirement liability, unfunded public employee health care liability. All of these things start stacking up. But then you look at neighboring states, and a state like Missouri, they're getting ready to move forward with getting rid of their corporate tax. Again, go to thecentersquare.com, and on the Missouri page, you can actually see that the Missouri legislature is looking to phase out the corporate income tax and tax credits, and a bill to do that in the Missouri Senate. While here in Illinois, they're looking at all kinds of different tax credits. Yesterday in a Senate committee, they actually advanced several, well, they didn't advance, they heard about several tax provisions. Those tax provisions include Senate Bill 3273 gives tax credits to people with student loans. Senate Bill 172 awards income tax credits to people who provide an endowment gift to a permanent endowment fund. In addition, they also reviewed Senate Bill 3395, which gives tax credits to music companies and people pursuing music education degrees. But one thing that we haven't heard about when it comes to tax credits in Illinois is the Invest in Kids tax credit program. That was that education scholarship program that private dollars went into to fund scholarships. And in exchange for that private dollar donation, they would get up to 75% Illinois income tax credit on that. So essentially it was incentivizing private dollars to support low-income families to get their kids into a school of their choice. That program ended after 5 years at the end of last year. And there's been virtually no conversation about that tax credit. However, we have all kinds of other tax credits in Illinois. For instance, Goshen, that Chinese company that's got alleged ties to the Communist Party, they are in line to get $500 million in Illinois income tax credits. You've got tax credits for data centers, carve-outs for battery manufacturers, carve-outs for the electric vehicle space, and a variety of other different types of carve-outs that some argue picks winners and losers. One of my colleagues, Katrina Peterson, she asked Governor J.B. Pritzker yesterday about the tax climate in Illinois, especially as Missouri is eyeballing getting rid of their corporate income tax over several years. They want to drop it down to zero while also getting rid of the tax credits that Missouri has, which some argue picks winners and losers. Here's the governor from yesterday after a event with the Illinois Manufacturers Association.
Well, Illinois doesn't pick winners and losers. We provide incentives for companies that come to Illinois. We have EDGE tax credits, which are available to anybody, for example, that wants to start or build and grow a business in Illinois. And we're very proud of the fact that Illinois is, in fact, attracting companies from all over the world. And I should say manufacturing companies. And I've worked hard with Mark. We've gone on a number of marketing tours around the world, and more to come, to make sure that everybody knows how great the state of Illinois is. The number one thing that people are looking for is a great environment for growing their business that has available to them a location that has a lot of available power, energy, that has a workforce that is skilled and available to take over their manufacturing capability. And a place that is welcoming to their employees. So all of that together is something that Illinois offers to companies, whether they're already here or coming from around the world.
So again, the governor responding to my colleague's question about how does Illinois stay competitive with the tax climate that it's got versus other neighboring states like Missouri, where they're looking at slashing tax rates. Well, again, my colleague Katrina Peterson also chasing down State Representative Blaine Wilhauer to get his reaction to neighbors and the competitive nature they've got against Illinois.
We're already not competitive. We've got a lot of advantages here in Illinois over Missouri. We should be a powerhouse, but we're not because of the policies that we push. And then when they do this, it makes us even more uncompetitive. Just last week, we were passing through Revenue Committee all kinds of mechanisms for governments in the state of Illinois to raise property taxes that are already crushing people. And, meanwhile, in the state of Missouri, Indiana, every state around us is becoming more and more competitive, and they're just stealing our opportunity. They're stealing our people, they're stealing our opportunity, but it shouldn't happen.
So, again, Blaine Wilhauer talking about other states around us. And if you look at some of the stats there are, Illinois' corporate income tax rate, as we reported with the Center Square, 9.5%. Indiana's corporate income tax rate, 4.9%. Iowa's 5.5 to 7.1%. Kentucky has a 5% corporate income tax rate. But a study released earlier this year ranked Illinois the worst state to start a new business. Simplify LLC scored Illinois low because of the state's maximum corporate tax rate of 9.5% and the exodus of what the company called educated adults from the state in 2023. Remember, we've got a migration issue in the state of Illinois. So clearly, there's ongoing issues that aren't being addressed at the Illinois State House. More words from State Representative Blaine Wilhauer.
All kinds of gimmicks that we do through government with picking winners and losers, but at the end of the day, if we just fix our structural problems that we have, if we got our spending under control, if we prioritize the things that are important to bring jobs and opportunities back, the natural advantages to Illinois are going to show through. It's just we need to get government out of the way.
But again, the governor says that Illinois doesn't pick winners and losers.
Well, Illinois doesn't pick winners and losers. We provide incentives for companies that come to Illinois. We have EDGE tax credits, which are available to anybody.
And he talks about that EDGE tax credits, which is the Economic Development for a Growing Economy tax credit. And that's run into issues in the past because ultimately what it does is it incentivizes various startups to invest and create and retain jobs in Illinois. But sometimes they get tax credits and then all of a sudden they lay a bunch of people off, and then you're like, well, how do we claw back those tax credits? I remember covering that 10 years ago. So clearly, the issue of tax credits, there's argument that when you have to carve out certain industries over others, you're picking winners and losers. You're essentially saying, hey, the EV market is going to be a winner, but we're not going to do the same tax credits for the internal combustible engine manufacturers because, and again, we, the government, as policymakers may say, want to focus on elevating one industry over another. So again, there's an economic argument to be had there, and I think an interesting one, especially when you've got states like Illinois right next to Missouri and the back and forth of economic competitiveness. So a lot of other things happening at the Illinois State House, and again, go to thecentersquare.com where you can find headlines like this. Illinois Senate passes bill prohibiting single-use plastics in hotels. This was an interesting back and forth between state senators yesterday. when they were discussing the issues of single-use plastics and how they're going to go about possibly regulating that. And you have State Senator Laura Fine, Democrat sponsor of the bill, with State Senator Steve McClure debating this. And you can watch that video at thecentersquare.com, where here's Laura Fine talking about her bill.
Small single-use plastic bottles in hotels. It creates a win-win. It is economic for the hotel and motel industry, and it is good for the environment. This encourages a change in behavior. Right now, we are putting so much plastic pollution into our waterways that it will no longer be safe for aquatic consumption and then human consumption.
This is unnecessary. If all the hotels are for this, if they're in favor of this, then let them do it.
So McClure went on to talk about how the measure requires states' attorneys to enforce this, and states' attorneys are already strapped with all kinds of other things that they got to deal with. You also have this measure passing the Illinois Senate, adding hurdles to mobile home park owners looking to sell their property. Essentially, the measure would require right of first refusal for those who live at the mobile home park or the mobile home park association for that particular set of properties. If the owner wants to go out and sell, they got to offer it up to them first before they go to anybody to sell it. So that measure passed, but Republicans pushing back, saying that this violates property rights and you shouldn't be able to dictate to a property owner who they need to first go and get a bid from. So interesting to see that. But then you had Chamber Day with the Illinois Chamber of Commerce and a lot of business owners in Springfield, and they heard from some of the legislative leaders like State Senator Don Harmon, the Senate president, also Senate Minority Leader John Curran, but they also heard from House Speaker Emanuel Chris Welch and House Minority Leader Tony McCombie. So if you get a chance, go over to thecentersquare.com. Stay up to date with what's going on because there's plenty more happening at the Illinois State House, including you, the taxpayers, on the hook for increased costs for state workers' Cadillac health plans. It's increasing 16%. And we use the term Cadillac because that's what the CMS manager for the state of Illinois called those health care plans. So that's increasing 16%, but state senators pointing out, why is Illinois an outlier here? Because other states, at their state employees' health insurance plans aren't increasing at that rate. So clearly a lot of things going to be happening in that conversation as well. As is there with Tier 2 pensions, and they're looking to increase benefits for Tier 2 pensions as a way to, as supporters say, support and to retain and attract employees for state government jobs, but opponents of expanding benefits say that the state just can't afford it. So that's a collection of different things happening at the Illinois State House. Hopefully you are a bit more informed today than you were yesterday. We'll be back at it to give you a brief update on a Friday about some of the things going on at the Illinois State House, with both chambers back in today. And I think the House is back in tomorrow. We'll see if they cancel. We'll see. Not sure if they're going to be here tomorrow, but regardless, lots going to happen today, and we'll keep you posted. All right, like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. It's Bishop on Air with you each and every weekday morning. Thank you for being part of the program.